Hello, and welcome to this journey through the human body. Tonight, we'll gently shift our attention beneath the surface toward the living systems that carry you through every moment of life. Beneath your skin, trillions of cells are renewing themselves, exchanging signals and responding to the world around you. Your heart maintains its steady rhythm, your breath moves in soft cycles, and your brain shapes thoughts, memories, and dreams with remarkable precision. These systems were shaped by evolution over immense stretches of time, designed to adapt, protect, and sustain you without effort or instruction. As you settle in, allow your awareness to drift through muscles, nerves, and flowing currents within, observing without effort, simply listening from within. If you enjoy these moments of deep listening and exploration, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, or sharing your thoughts below. Your support is deeply appreciated and helps others find their way to this space. You can also turn on notifications so you don't miss future journeys. For now, let your breath slow. Let your body grow heavy and allow your attention to rest inside. Let's begin. Your body is not a static structure, but a constantly renewing landscape, where billions of cells are replaced every day without your awareness. The lining of your stomach renews itself roughly every 4 to 5 days, a necessity because digestive acids are strong enough to damage living tissue. Skin cells rise from deeper layers to the surface over weeks, forming a living barrier that is continuously shed. Even bones, which seem permanent, are gradually rebuilt through a process called remodeling, balancing destruction and repair. This quiet reconstruction allows the body to adapt to stress, heal fractures, and maintain strength across decades of life. That rebuilding depends on an astonishing level of internal coordination, much of it directed by chemical signals, traveling faster than conscious thought. Hormones released in microscopic amounts can reshape metabolism, influence mood, and redirect energy across the entire body. Adrenaline alone can reroute blood flow in seconds, prioritizing muscles and vision while temporarily suppressing digestion. These shifts are not emotional reactions, but ancient survival programs refined over millions of years. Every heartbeat, breath, and metabolic adjustment reflects decisions made by systems that evolved long before language or memory existed. The heart itself begins beating just weeks after conception and often continues uninterrupted for more than 3 billion beats across an average lifetime. Its rhythm is not perfectly regular. Slight variations between beats are a sign of adaptability and health. Each contraction sends blood through roughly 60,000 miles of blood vessels, enough to circle Earth more than twice. This vast network delivers oxygen, removes waste, and distributes immune cells like patrol units. Despite its endurance, the heart responds constantly to posture, temperature, hydration, and emotional state. Blood, often thought of as a simple fluid, is a living tissue with remarkable properties. Red blood cells lack nuclei, allowing them to pack more hemoglobin and carry more oxygen. They deform effortlessly to pass through capillaries narrower than their own diameter, folding and reshaping thousands of times during their lifespan. White blood cells, by contrast, can exit blood vessels entirely, squeezing between cells to reach sites of injury or infection. This mobility allows the immune system to act as a roaming surveillance network. The immune system itself has memory, capable of remembering encounters that happened decades earlier. After surviving certain infections, specialized cells persist quietly, ready to respond with speed and precision if the same threat returns. Vaccines exploit this mechanism, training immune defenses without exposing the body to full disease. This biological memory operates independently of conscious recollection, stored instead in the behavior of cells and proteins. It represents a parallel form of learning, written into chemistry rather than experience. Your brain, weighing roughly 3 pounds, consumes about 20% of the body's energy, despite representing only 2% of its mass. This energy supports electrical signaling across nearly 86 billion neurons, each forming thousands of connections. These connections shift constantly, strengthening or weakening based on use, rest, and experience. Learning does not add new neurons in most regions, but reshapes existing networks, altering how information flows. Even inactivity leaves a trace, subtly changing how future signals move through the brain. While the brain feels like a single unit, it operates as a collection of specialized regions negotiating with one another. Visual processing occurs at the back of the head, while language often relies on structures in the left hemisphere. Emotional responses emerge from deeper regions that evolved earlier, sometimes influencing decisions before logic becomes aware of them. This layered organization explains why reactions can feel automatic, with reasoning arriving moments later. Conscious thought is often the final narrator rather than the original decision maker. Sleep alters the brain in ways impossible during wakefulness. During deep sleep, channels between brain cells expand, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to wash through tissue and remove metabolic waste. This process clears byproducts associated with neurodegenerative diseases, suggesting sleep plays a protective role beyond rest. Neural activity during sleep also reorganizes memory, reinforcing important patterns while weakening others. The brain uses stillness not as absence, but as opportunity for maintenance and restructuring. Your senses extend beyond sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Proprioception allows you to know where your limbs are without looking, guided by receptors in muscles and joints. Interoception monitors internal states such as hunger, thirst, heart rate, and breathing. These senses provide a constant stream of data that shapes behavior without entering awareness. When disrupted, even simple actions like walking or swallowing become profoundly difficult. The skin, often described as a boundary, is also a sensory organ and immune barrier combined. It contains receptors for pressure, temperature, pain, and vibration, translating physical contact into electrical signals. It also hosts millions of immune cells that respond rapidly to injury or invasion. Pigmentation, thickness, and oil production vary across the body, reflecting different functional demands. Far from being uniform, skin is a mosaic of specialized zones adapted for protection and perception. Embedded within that surface is an ecosystem of microorganisms that outnumber human cells. Bacteria, fungi, and viruses inhabit the skin, mouth, and digestive tract, forming a complex microbiome. Many of these organisms perform essential functions, including digesting certain foods and training the immune system. Disrupting this balance through antibiotics or diet can influence metabolism, mood, and susceptibility to disease. The human body is therefore less an individual entity and more a collaboration between species. The digestive system demonstrates remarkable adaptability, enzymes in saliva begin breaking down carbohydrates before food reaches the stomach. Acid and muscular contractions reduce meals to a semi-liquid form, while the intestines absorb nutrients through millions of finger-like projections called villi. These structures increase surface area dramatically, allowing efficient transfer into the bloodstream. The entire process is regulated by nerves and hormones responding to both the content and timing of meals. Even breathing, which feels automatic, is tightly regulated by chemistry. Sensors in blood vessels detect carbon dioxide levels and adjust breathing rate accordingly. Oxygen levels play a secondary role, meaning the urge to breathe is driven more by waste buildup than lack of fuel. This system operates continuously, adapting during exercise, sleep, and altitude changes. Conscious control can override it briefly, but chemical regulation always reasserts authority. Muscles function through microscopic interactions between proteins that slide past one another. When a muscle contracts, billions of these interactions occur almost simultaneously, shortening fibers and generating force. Different muscle types support endurance, posture, or rapid movement, each optimized for specific tasks. Cardiac muscle operates independently, while smooth muscle controls organs like the intestines without conscious input. Movement emerges from coordination across scales, from molecules to limbs. Bones serve as more than structural supports. They store minerals such as calcium and phosphorus, releasing them into the bloodstream when needed. Bone marrow produces blood cells, making the skeleton a critical component of immunity and oxygen transport. The strength of bone responds to mechanical stress, becoming denser with use and weaker without it. This responsiveness reflects an ongoing dialogue between movement and structure. The liver is among the most versatile organs, performing hundreds of functions essential to survival. It detoxifies chemicals, metabolizes nutrients, produces bile, and regulates blood sugar. Unlike most organs, it can regenerate significant portions of itself after injury or surgical removal. This capacity relies on tightly controlled cell division, guided by molecular signals that prevent overgrowth. The liver's resilience has been recognized since ancient times, long before its mechanisms were understood. Your sense of time is influenced by the body as much as the clock. Internal rhythms, known as circadian cycles, regulate hormone release, temperature, and alertness over roughly 24 hours. These rhythms respond to light exposure, meal timing, and social cues. Disruption can impair cognition, metabolism, and immune function. The body therefore keeps its own schedule, adjusting gradually rather than instantly. Pain, often perceived as purely negative, serves as a sophisticated warning system. Specialized receptors detect extreme temperature, pressure, or chemical signals associated with tissue damage. Pain perception varies widely between individuals and contexts, influenced by genetics, past experience, and emotional state. The brain can amplify or dampen pain signals depending on perceived threat. This flexibility allows survival, but also explains why pain can persist even after injury heals. Memory is not stored in a single location, but distributed across networks. Emotional memories involve different circuits than factual ones, which explains why feelings can persist without clear recall. Recalling a memory temporarily destabilizes it, allowing modification before it is stored again. This means memory is not a perfect recording, but a living process shaped by each act of remembrance. The past, biologically speaking, is always being rewritten. Every system described so far operates simultaneously, layered together in a body that feels singular but is profoundly plural. Chemistry, electricity, structure, and adaptation converge to create experience. Nothing functions in isolation. Changes ripple outward, influencing distant systems in subtle ways. The human body is therefore not a machine with separate parts, but a continuous process unfolding moment by moment. Awareness rides atop this complexity, sensing only a fraction of what is occurring beneath. Long before awareness forms a thought, the body is already predicting what will happen next. The brain constantly generates forecasts about sensory input, adjusting muscle tension, posture, and attention before events occur. When expectations match reality, perception feels smooth. When they differ, surprise emerges. This predictive process reduces energy use, allowing faster responses with fewer resources. Much of what feels like reaction is actually anticipation refined through experience. Living inside your body means inhabiting a system that is always slightly ahead of the present moment. Every swallow triggers a complex sequence that temporarily reroutes breathing. Muscles coordinate to move food downward while sealing off the airway, preventing aspiration. This choreography occurs within fractions of a second, guided by neural circuits in the brainstem. The process remains reliable across thousands of repetitions daily, even while talking or shifting posture. Such coordination illustrates how survival depends on timing more than strength, with failure measured not in effort, but in milliseconds. The eyes, often treated as cameras, are better described as active processors. Light striking the retina is transformed by layers of specialized cells before signals ever reach the brain. Contrast, motion, and edges are emphasized early, while redundant information is filtered out. The result is not a full replica of the world, but a streamlined interpretation optimized for action. Vision is therefore constructed, shaped by biology rather than simply received. Temperature regulation reveals another layer of internal negotiation. Blood vessels near the skin widen or narrow to release or conserve heat, while sweat glands adjust evaporation rates. Shivering generates warmth through rapid muscle contractions, converting chemical energy into heat. These mechanisms operate continuously, responding to both external conditions and internal metabolism. Maintaining a narrow temperature range is essential for enzyme function, making thermal balance a cornerstone of survival. The tongue is a muscular hydrostat, meaning it moves without bones for support. Its flexibility enables speech articulation, chewing and swallowing, with remarkable precision. Taste receptors distributed across its surface detect chemicals associated with sweetness, bitterness, saltiness, sourness, and umami. Signals from these receptors integrate with smell and texture to form flavor. Eating is therefore a multisensory experience shaped as much by expectation and memory as by chemistry. Within the chest, the lungs present a vast interface between air and blood. Millions of tiny sacs called alveoli create a surface area roughly equivalent to a tennis court. Oxygen diffuses across delicate membranes into red blood cells, while carbon dioxide moves in the opposite direction. This exchange depends on thinness rather than strength, making lung tissue vulnerable yet efficient. Breathing quietly sustains life through exposure rather than force. Scar formation demonstrates the body's preference for speed over perfection. When skin is damaged, collagen fibers are laid down rapidly to restore integrity. The resulting tissue lacks the organized structure of the original, leading to reduced elasticity and altered appearance. Over time, remodeling improves strength, but rarely restores full function. This trade-off favors survival in the short term, reflecting evolutionary priorities shaped by injury risk. The kidneys filter blood with extraordinary selectivity. Each contains about 1 million nephrons, microscopic units that remove waste while retaining essential molecules. Through a combination of pressure, diffusion, and active transport, these structures adjust fluid balance and electrolyte levels. The volume of blood processed daily far exceeds total body fluid, meaning the kidneys repeatedly refine the same material. Their quiet labor stabilizes chemistry minute by minute. Speech emerges from the coordination of breath, vocal cords, tongue, and lips. Air expelled from the lungs causes the vocal folds to vibrate, producing sound that is shaped into language by movements of the mouth. This system allows rapid transitions between tones and consonants, enabling nuanced expression. Neural circuits synchronize these components with remarkable timing. Language, biologically speaking, is an athletic feat performed dozens of times per second. Fat tissue, once viewed as passive storage, actively communicates with the rest of the body. It releases hormones that influence appetite, inflammation, and insulin sensitivity. The distribution of fat affects health outcomes more than total quantity, reflecting differences in metabolic activity. Adipose tissue also provides insulation and energy reserves during scarcity. Its role illustrates how structure and signaling intertwine within physiology. The sense of smell connects directly to brain regions involved in memory and emotion. Odor molecules bind to receptors in the nasal cavity, triggering patterns of activity that bypass traditional sensory relay stations. This direct pathway explains why sense can evoke vivid recollections or emotional shifts without warning. Smell operates as a time machine of sorts, linking present chemistry to past experience. Few senses influence mood so immediately. Joint surfaces are lubricated by synovial fluid, a viscous substance that reduces friction during movement. Cartilage absorbs shock and distributes load, protecting underlying bone. These materials lack direct blood supply, relying instead on movement to circulate nutrients. Regular motion therefore maintains joint health, while prolonged immobility accelerates wear. Mobility preserves structure through use rather than rest. The spleen acts as a quality control center for blood cells. It filters out damaged or aged red blood cells while storing platelets for rapid deployment during injury. Immune cells within the spleen monitor circulating pathogens, initiating responses when needed. Despite its importance, the spleen can be removed if damaged, with other organs partially compensating. Its redundancy reflects resilience built into biological systems. During development, the body forms more neurons than it ultimately keeps. Connections that are used frequently are strengthened, while others are pruned away. This refinement improves efficiency, tailoring neural networks to environment and experience. Learning, therefore, is as much about loss as acquisition. The adult brain carries the imprint of choices made early, sculpted by repetition and neglect alike. The esophagus relies on wave-like muscle contractions to move food toward the stomach. This motion occurs regardless of body orientation, allowing swallowing even while inverted. Gravity assists but is not required, highlighting the autonomy of muscular coordination. Peristalsis continues during sleep, ensuring digestion progresses without awareness. The body refuses to pause essential tasks simply because consciousness rests. Eye blinks occur more frequently than most people realize, refreshing the tear film that protects and nourishes the cornea. Each blink spreads oils and fluids evenly, maintaining optical clarity. Reduced blinking during screen use can lead to dryness and irritation. This simple reflex illustrates how small actions preserve delicate structures. Vision depends as much on maintenance as on perception. White blood cells communicate using chemical signals that guide movement and activation. When injury occurs, gradients of molecules draw immune cells to the site, focusing response where needed. This targeted migration reduces collateral damage to healthy tissue. Coordination emerges without centralized command, relying instead on local cues. Immunity functions as a decentralized intelligence. The body's ability to heal fractures involves an intricate sequence of events. Blood clots form scaffolding, cartilage bridges gaps, and new bone gradually replaces temporary structures. This process can take months, guided by mechanical stress and cellular signaling. Proper alignment and movement influence final strength. Healing is therefore interactive, shaped by both biology and behavior. Even a single hair follicle is a dynamic microcosm. Cells at its base divide continuously, pushing strands outward while specialized sebaceous glands lubricate and protect them. Hair thickness, color, and growth rate vary across the body, influenced by genetics, hormones, and environmental factors. Each follicle has a life cycle of growth, rest, and shedding, quietly orchestrated over months or years. Despite their apparent fragility, hairs endure abrasion, temperature shifts, and chemical exposure, acting as both protection and subtle sensory extensions of the body. Blood flow is more than transportation. It serves as a conveyor for chemical messages. Nutrients, hormones, and signaling molecules travel through arteries and veins, reaching tissues in precise timing. Tiny capillaries ensure no cell lies beyond reach, while specialized structures like the blood-brain barrier regulate what enters delicate neural tissue. The rhythm of circulation adapts instantly to exertion, temperature, and emotional state, ensuring both survival and efficiency. This dynamic network functions continuously without conscious direction, a silent orchestra sustaining life. The pancreas is both secretory and regulatory, producing digestive enzymes and hormones like insulin and glucagon. Enzymes break down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in the small intestine, while insulin adjusts glucose uptake throughout the body. This dual role maintains energy balance, responding to meals, fasting, and stress. Dysfunction in either aspect can lead to metabolic disturbances, highlighting the organ's critical contribution. Its invisible work underpins every act of movement, thought, and cellular repair. Fingerprints, often used for identification, arise from patterns in the skin's basal layer. These ridges form before birth and remain stable for life, shaped by genetics and intrauterine environment. Beyond identification, the textured surface enhances grip by increasing friction against objects. Even minor variations in ridge patterns influence tactile perception, demonstrating how microscopic structure affects daily interactions. In a subtle way, each fingertip carries a personal map of development and functionality. Your skeletal muscles adapt constantly to stress and use. Exercise triggers hypertrophy, enlarging fibers and increasing strength, while inactivity allows them to shrink. Microtears stimulate repair and growth, making challenge an essential signal for adaptation. Different muscle fiber types specialize in endurance or quick bursts, creating a versatile system capable of both sustained effort and explosive action. Muscles are therefore simultaneously storage sites for energy, sources of force, and sensors of tension. Sweat contains more than water. It carries salts, metabolites, and trace molecules reflecting the body's internal state. Evaporation cools the skin while excretion removes chemicals produced during metabolism. Sweat composition can change depending on diet, hydration, and stress, acting as an involuntary report on physiology. Its presence influences social and environmental interactions, often without awareness. This fluid serves simultaneously as thermoregulator, cleanser, and subtle signal. Within the digestive tract, the gut microbiome performs functions impossible for human enzymes alone. Microbes ferment fibers, produce vitamins, and interact with immune cells, creating a complex ecosystem. Each individual hosts a unique microbial signature shaped by genetics, diet, and exposure. These microorganisms influence not only digestion, but mood, immunity, and susceptibility to disease, showing that human physiology extends beyond cells to include entire communities. The gut becomes a hidden collaborator in survival and adaptation. Bone marrow is a factory for blood, producing billions of cells daily. Red cells, white cells, and platelets emerge from stem cells, entering circulation to fulfill specialized roles. Damage to marrow or its regulation can compromise oxygen transport, immunity, and clotting simultaneously. This delicate production line operates silently, fueled by nutrient availability and biochemical signaling. The body's resilience depends on this hidden generator functioning without interruption, adapting to stress, injury, and infection. The senses of touch and pressure rely on diverse receptors embedded in the skin. Mechanoreceptors detect vibration, stretch, and fine texture, sending information rapidly to the brain. These inputs are integrated with proprioception to guide movement and interaction. Sensitivity varies across regions. Fingertips are exquisitely perceptive, while the back detects only gross changes. This differential distribution optimizes function, balancing protection with efficiency. Sensation is therefore highly organized, structured for both survival and dexterity. The lymphatic system functions like a shadow network, parallel to blood vessels. It drains excess fluid, transports immune cells, and removes waste from tissues. Lymph nodes act as checkpoints, filtering pathogens and activating responses. Unlike blood circulation, lymph relies on muscle movement and vessel valves to maintain flow. This network provides both protection and housekeeping, keeping tissues healthy while remaining largely unnoticed. Its operations illustrate how many essential processes occur without conscious awareness. Your liver has an uncanny ability to repair itself after injury. Remaining tissue enlarges and divides to restore lost volume, guided by growth factors and feedback mechanisms. Even partial removal can trigger near-complete regeneration over weeks. This adaptability extends to metabolism, with the liver adjusting enzyme activity in response to diet, toxins, and energy needs. Its versatility exemplifies the body's capacity for renewal, balancing stability with change across multiple scales. Taste perception extends beyond simple detection of chemicals. It is shaped by temperature, texture, and smell, combining signals to create complex flavor experiences. Taste buds regenerate roughly every 2 weeks, maintaining sensitivity despite constant exposure to abrasive foods. Individual differences in receptor density and genetic variation explain why foods evoke pleasure for some and aversion for others. Eating becomes a multisensory process influenced by both biology and history. Nerves conduct signals astonishingly fast, sometimes exceeding 200 miles per hour. This velocity allows reflexes to occur in milliseconds, protecting the body from harm. Peripheral nerves branch extensively, ensuring that even distant extremities remain connected to central processing centers. Damage to these pathways can produce dramatic changes in sensation, movement, and coordination. Neural conduction is therefore the literal speed of life within the body, translating chemistry into action. Adipose tissue varies in color, function, and distribution. Brown fat, abundant in infants, specializes in heat production, while white fat stores energy for future use. Subcutaneous fat provides cushioning and insulation, while visceral fat surrounds organs, influencing metabolism and health risk. Hormones and environmental factors determine fat deposition, demonstrating that body composition is dynamic rather than fixed. Fat is therefore simultaneously protector, fuel reservoir, and endocrine organ. Eyes maintain clarity through tear production, which provides moisture, nutrients, and antimicrobial protection. Blinking spreads fluid evenly, preventing damage and irritation. Tears respond not only to dryness, but to emotion, reflecting a complex interplay between physiology and experience. The ocular surface is thus maintained by continuous micro-adjustments, preserving both functionality and sensitivity without conscious effort. Vision depends on both structure and constant upkeep. The body's immune surveillance relies on chemical messaging more than centralized control. Cytokines, chemokines, and other molecules coordinate recruitment, activation, and suppression of immune cells. These messages dictate responses locally, ensuring precision while avoiding excessive damage. Coordination emerges naturally from signaling patterns rather than top-down commands, reflecting a decentralized intelligence evolved over millions of years. Defense depends on chemistry, timing, and networked collaboration. Your bones are dynamic reservoirs of minerals, constantly exchanging calcium and phosphorus with the bloodstream. This process supports nerve signaling, muscle contraction, and enzyme function. Bones respond to mechanical stress, thickening where load is high and thinning when unused. Remodeling ensures both strength and metabolic balance, integrating structural and chemical roles. The skeleton is therefore both support and systemic regulator, its activity extending beyond simple mechanics. Sensation of temperature combines inputs from skin, internal organs, and blood chemistry. Specialized receptors detect heat and cold, triggering behavioral and physiological adjustments. Sweating, shivering, and blood vessel dilation operate automatically to maintain internal balance. Thermal perception guides decisions about clothing, shelter, and activity, linking immediate environment with survival instincts. Awareness of temperature is therefore layered, integrating multiple signals to produce coherent experience. The human ear captures sound through a cascade of mechanical and neural events. Vibrations move the eardrum, transmit through tiny bones, and finally reach hair cells in the cochlea. These cells convert motion into electrical impulses, interpreted by the brain as pitch, volume, and timbre. Tiny adjustments occur continuously, filtering noise and enhancing relevant signals. Hearing is not passive reception, but an active decoding process shaped by anatomy, physics, and evolution. Your sense of hearing extends beyond pure sound detection to spatial awareness. Subtle differences in the timing and intensity of sounds reaching each ear allow precise localization of objects in three-dimensional space. This ability enables humans to navigate complex environments, detect danger, and communicate effectively, often without thinking. Even background noises are processed automatically, contributing to situational awareness. Hearing is therefore both alert system and social instrument, layered with reflexive and cognitive functions. Within the bloodstream, platelets act as emergency repair units. When vascular walls are damaged, they adhere to the injury site, forming clots that prevent excessive blood loss. These tiny fragments release chemical signals to recruit additional platelets and trigger the coagulation cascade. Despite their small size, platelets are essential for survival, constantly patrolling the circulatory network and prepared to respond instantly to breaches. Life hinges on this microscopic readiness, a delicate balance between fluidity and defense. The spine functions as both support and communication highway. Composed of vertebrae separated by shock-absorbing discs, it protects the spinal cord while allowing flexibility. Nerve roots branch from the cord at each level, connecting the brain to every region of the body. Tiny misalignments can affect sensation, movement, and organ function, showing the tight integration between structure and control. Posture, balance, and locomotion all emerge from this central axis, which combines mechanical resilience with informational precision. Saliva is more than lubrication. It initiates digestion, fights microbes, and maintains oral health. Enzymes in saliva begin breaking down starches, while antimicrobial peptides reduce the growth of pathogens. Saliva also aids in taste perception and swallowing, creating a seamless bridge between ingestion and digestion. This fluid is produced continuously, adjusting its composition in response to food, hydration, and circadian rhythms. Without it, even simple acts like speaking or chewing would become challenging. The brainstem governs many automatic functions, including heartbeat, breathing, and reflexes. Despite being evolutionarily ancient, it coordinates complex processes effortlessly, allowing higher brain regions to focus on thought and perception. Damage to this area can be immediately life-threatening, highlighting its essential role. It serves as a central hub where survival mechanisms operate without conscious effort, ensuring continuity even when higher awareness is inactive. Taste is not isolated to the tongue. Chemical receptors exist throughout the digestive tract, alerting the body to nutrients and toxins. These receptors help regulate appetite, hormone release, and digestion, connecting sensory input to internal regulation. Flavor perception is therefore a multi-site phenomenon, blending oral sensation with physiological feedback. Eating becomes a dialogue between external stimuli and internal readiness, orchestrated in ways rarely noticed. The cornea is one of the few tissues without blood vessels, relying on tears and aqueous humor for oxygen and nutrients. Its transparency and curvature are critical for focusing light precisely on the retina. Damage to the cornea, even minor scratches, triggers rapid repair mechanisms involving cell migration and proliferation. Vision depends not only on neural processing, but on these delicate structural components working in near-perfect harmony. Red blood cells exhibit remarkable flexibility, allowing them to traverse capillaries narrower than their own diameter. They lack nuclei, maximizing space for hemoglobin and survive roughly 120 days before being recycled by the spleen. Their life cycle reflects a balance between efficiency and turnover, ensuring oxygen delivery remains uninterrupted. Each cell's journey through the vascular network is a small but vital thread in the body's continuous maintenance. The diaphragm's rhythmic contractions create subtle pressure shifts that assist in venous return, helping blood move against gravity toward the heart. This secondary function illustrates how structures can serve multiple purposes simultaneously. Breathing is therefore not only about gas exchange, it contributes to circulation and internal balance, reinforcing the interconnectedness of physiological systems. Eyes are capable of rapid adaptation to changes in light. Pupils constrict or dilate to regulate incoming photons, while retinal cells adjust sensitivity to preserve detail. Night vision relies on rod cells, which detect minimal light, while cones provide color perception in brighter conditions. These adaptations occur seamlessly, enabling vision across a vast range of environments. Seeing is an active process of continual calibration rather than passive observation. The digestive tract harbors rhythmic contractions called peristalsis, moving content steadily along without conscious thought. These coordinated waves are regulated by the enteric nervous system, often called the second brain for its autonomy and complexity. Peristalsis ensures nutrients are absorbed efficiently and waste is expelled reliably, exemplifying the body's internal timing mechanisms. Even minor disturbances can disrupt this delicate choreography. The lungs' alveoli are surrounded by capillaries, creating an extensive interface for gas exchange. Oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse across extremely thin membranes, a process limited only by surface area and partial pressure gradients. Minute changes in lung structure or blood composition can significantly affect efficiency, demonstrating the precision required for continuous respiration. Even subtle variations in lung volume or posture influence this vital exchange. Muscle fibers differ in contraction speed and endurance. Slow twitch fibers sustain long-term activity with high efficiency, while fast twitch fibers generate brief, intense bursts of power. The mix of fiber types varies across individuals and body regions, adapting to habitual demands. Muscles therefore embody a blend of endurance, force, and responsiveness, tuned to support both survival and performance. The liver processes toxins and metabolizes compounds through enzymatic networks. Some molecules are transformed for excretion, while others are stored or repurposed. This continuous chemical processing supports detoxification, energy balance, and hormone regulation. Even minor fluctuations in diet or exposure affect liver workload, reflecting its constant vigilance. The organ exemplifies efficiency and adaptability at a biochemical level. Hair follicles respond to hormonal cues, explaining why patterns change over a lifetime. Testosterone, estrogen, and other molecules influence growth rate, thickness, and distribution. Follicles also have immune interactions, as seen in conditions like alopecia, where miscommunication leads to hair loss. Each follicle operates independently, yet contributes to the visible ensemble, revealing both individuality and collective patterning in tissue biology. The nervous system's plasticity allows adaptation throughout life. Synaptic connections strengthen or weaken based on activity, creating a living network shaped by experience. This process underlies learning, memory, and recovery from injury. Plasticity demonstrates that the body is not static, but continually remodeling itself in response to internal and external stimuli. Each thought, action, and repetition leaves a measurable mark on neural architecture. Tears maintain ocular integrity, combining moisture, nutrients, and antimicrobial properties. They respond to irritation, dryness, and emotion, reflecting a connection between physiological and psychological states. Tear production and drainage form a subtle circulatory loop, keeping the cornea and conjunctiva functional and clear. Vision depends on these unseen adjustments, which operate continuously without conscious intervention. The human heart is more than a pump. It operates as a finely tuned biomechanical oscillator. Electrical impulses originating in the sinoatrial node propagate through specialized conduction pathways, coordinating contraction of atria and ventricles. Heart rate adjusts instantly to physical activity, stress, or relaxation, modulated by autonomic inputs. Each beat moves blood through arteries, veins, and capillaries with precision, delivering oxygen and nutrients while removing waste. Its rhythmic cadence is a constant, imperceptible metronome sustaining life with both reliability and adaptability. Taste perception is shaped not only by chemical composition, but also by temperature, texture, and anticipation. The mouth integrates multiple signals to produce nuanced flavor experiences, while olfactory input amplifies the perception of taste. Saliva aids this process by dissolving compounds for receptor activation. Personal dietary history and genetics further influence sensitivity and preference. Eating becomes a multisensory exploration where chemistry, memory, and expectation converge to inform choice and enjoyment. The skeletal system is in continuous flux, with bone remodeling adjusting structure to load and repair microdamage. Osteoclasts resorb tissue, while osteoblasts deposit new material, maintaining strength and mineral balance. The process responds to mechanical stress, nutrition, and hormones, demonstrating how the skeleton is both a static framework and a dynamic living tissue. Even minor activities like walking or typing leave subtle, long-term impacts on bone architecture. Muscle contraction requires precise coordination of calcium, ATP, and actin-myosin interactions. Nerve signals trigger the release of calcium from intracellular stores, allowing filaments to slide past one another. This microscopic motion generates macroscopic force, powering movement from walking to lifting objects. Energy expenditure is tightly regulated to match intensity and duration, balancing efficiency with strength. Each action illustrates the body's reliance on finely tuned biochemical mechanisms. The lungs are lined with cilia and mucus, forming a barrier against inhaled particles and pathogens. These structures sweep debris upward toward the throat for removal, complementing immune defenses. Air passages must remain clear to maintain efficient gas exchange, illustrating how even small features contribute to survival. Breathing is therefore not only about oxygen delivery, but also about continuous cleansing and protection. Red blood cells' biconcave shape maximizes surface area for oxygen transport while maintaining flexibility. Their journey through capillaries involves constant deformation, with hemoglobin capturing oxygen in the lungs and releasing it in tissues. Cellular turnover replaces aged or damaged cells, maintaining an efficient transport system. These tiny carriers, invisible in daily life, form the foundation of metabolic support throughout the body. The human skin adapts to sunlight through melanin production, which absorbs ultraviolet radiation and protects DNA from damage. tanning reflects increased melanin synthesis, while variations in baseline pigmentation arise from evolutionary adaptation to geographic location. Skin is therefore a protective, adaptive organ that balances environmental exposure with physiological need, providing both barrier and signaling functions. The pancreas regulates blood glucose with remarkable precision. Beta cells release insulin to reduce sugar levels, while alpha cells release glucagon to increase them. This delicate balance is critical for energy availability and cellular function. Disruption can lead to diabetes or hypoglycemia, illustrating how tightly regulated homeostasis sustains life. The pancreas operates quietly but is central to metabolic harmony. Eyes adjust for depth and focus. Through lens shape, changes controlled by the ciliary muscles. This accommodation allows objects at varying distances to appear sharp, integrating with binocular vision to create spatial awareness. Micro adjustments occur continuously, guided by visual feedback and neural control. Vision is therefore an active, adaptive process, constantly refining clarity and perspective. The digestive system relies on coordinated secretion of acids, enzymes, and bile to break down food. Stomach acids denature proteins, while enzymes in the small intestine complete chemical breakdown. Nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream through extensive villi and microvilli, maximizing surface area. Timing, composition, and movement are all regulated by neural and hormonal signals. Digestion is a seamless orchestration, turning complex substances into usable energy and building blocks. The nervous system contains specialized glial cells that support neurons, regulate the extracellular environment, and facilitate signal transmission. These cells maintain homeostasis, provide insulation, and participate in repair. Though often overlooked, glia are essential for cognitive function, showing that intelligence depends on a network of supporting actors as well as primary processors. Bones contain marrow that produces both blood cells and immune precursors. Stem cells within marrow differentiate into red cells, white cells, and platelets, continually replenishing circulation. This production is responsive to demand, such as increased immune activation or oxygen requirement, demonstrating adaptability in hidden tissue compartments. The skeletal system thus contributes beyond structure, acting as a central hub for cellular generation. Hair follicles rely on cyclic growth patterns, with phases of active growth, regression, and rest. Hormonal changes, nutrition, and local signals influence these cycles, resulting in natural variation in hair density and length. Even individual strands respond autonomously, creating a living tapestry of coordinated yet independent activity across the scalp and body. The liver's role in metabolism encompasses synthesis, detoxification, and storage. It converts excess glucose into glycogen, regulates amino acid balance, and transforms lipids for energy. Toxins and drugs are metabolized for excretion, often producing secondary compounds that must be managed. This continuous chemical work supports systemic equilibrium, illustrating the organ's multifaceted influence on physiology. The diaphragm's movement influences abdominal organs, massaging digestive contents and assisting venous return. Its rhythmic contractions create subtle pressure waves that enhance circulation and support organ function. Breathing is therefore more than oxygen exchange. It is a facilitator of multiple internal systems working in harmony. White blood cells navigate tissue spaces using chemotactic signals. They detect gradients of molecules indicating injury or infection and migrate toward targets with astonishing precision. This coordinated movement occurs without central control, relying instead on local cues and cellular responsiveness. Immune surveillance is decentralized yet effective, revealing the efficiency of distributed biological intelligence. Eyes contain photoreceptors specialized for different lighting conditions. Rods enable low-light vision, while cones provide color discrimination and detail in brighter environments. The combination allows humans to navigate diverse visual settings, with each receptor type contributing unique information. Vision is therefore layered and adaptive, finely tuned to maximize informational gain under variable conditions. Skin acts as a barrier to water loss, mechanical stress, and microbial invasion. Its multi-layered structure includes keratinized cells, lipids, and immune components. Damage triggers repair mechanisms that restore integrity and maintain protective function. The skin exemplifies resilience, balancing sensitivity with defense, while constantly renewing itself at the cellular level. Blood flow is regulated dynamically by vasoconstriction and vasodilation, controlling temperature, pressure, and nutrient delivery. Small arteries and arterioles adjust diameter in response to signals from nerves, hormones, and local metabolites. This continuous modulation ensures that tissues receive appropriate resources while maintaining systemic equilibrium, illustrating the precision of cardiovascular control. Bone density varies with mechanical stress and hormonal influence. Weight-bearing activities stimulate osteoblast activity, reinforcing structure, while inactivity leads to resorption and weakening. Age-related changes further influence density, but lifestyle factors remain significant modifiers. The skeleton thus integrates mechanical cues, biochemical signals, and time-dependent remodeling, reflecting its ongoing negotiation with internal and external environments. The human heart produces its own electrical impulses, making it partially autonomous. The sinoatrial node, often called the heart's natural pacemaker, initiates rhythmic contractions without needing direct commands from the brain. Autonomic signals adjust the rate and strength of beats in response to activity, stress, or rest. But the fundamental rhythm is generated internally. This self-starting mechanism allows the heart to maintain circulation even when higher nervous control is temporarily compromised, demonstrating nature's ingenuity in creating resilient, independent systems. Eyes constantly adjust to subtle changes in light, even in the absence of conscious perception. Pupil dilation and constriction occur in fractions of a second to regulate photon entry, while photoreceptor cells modulate sensitivity to protect tissue and optimize vision. This adaptation enables humans to perceive objects across dramatically different environments, from shadowed forests to sunlit fields, without conscious effort. The process is automatic, yet finely calibrated, preserving clarity and contrast under constantly shifting conditions. Muscles operate through microscopic interactions between actin and myosin filaments. Energy from ATP allows filaments to slide past each other, generating contraction. The coordination of thousands of fibers produces smooth movement, whether typing on a keyboard or sprinting across a track. Muscles also contain proprioceptive sensors that relay information about tension and position to the brain, supporting both action and coordination. This system integrates chemistry, mechanics, and feedback in a seamless cycle of performance and adaptation. The liver acts as a chemical factory, performing hundreds of metabolic reactions simultaneously. It processes nutrients, synthesizes plasma proteins, regulates cholesterol, and detoxifies harmful compounds. Even minor fluctuations in nutrient intake or exposure to environmental chemicals require instant adaptation, illustrating the organ's remarkable responsiveness. Its constant activity underpins energy balance and systemic stability, making it an unseen powerhouse that ensures smooth physiological operation. Blood contains not only red and white cells, but also platelets, plasma proteins, and dissolved gases. Each component serves a distinct purpose: oxygen transport, immune defense, clotting, and communication via hormones and chemical signals. This mixture forms a dynamic fluid capable of adjusting composition according to need, reflecting the body's ongoing effort to maintain homeostasis. Even slight imbalances can produce profound systemic effects, highlighting the interdependence of these components. The pancreas secretes digestive enzymes that catalyze breakdown of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in the small intestine. Concurrently, it regulates blood sugar levels through insulin and glucagon release. This dual function integrates digestion with metabolism, ensuring that energy is both extracted efficiently from food and distributed appropriately. Disruption in either pathway can lead to metabolic disorders, emphasizing the organ's centrality in daily physiological equilibrium. The spinal cord serves as the main conduit for information between the brain and body. Nerve tracts carry motor commands outward and sensory input inward, while interneurons facilitate reflexes independent of higher processing centers. The cord's structure protects vital signals while allowing flexibility for movement and posture. Damage to even a small region can produce localized loss of sensation or motor function, illustrating the precision and vulnerability inherent in this critical axis. Skin is a living shield, continually regenerating to protect underlying structures. Basal cells divide to replace damaged layers, while keratinocytes form a durable outer barrier. Sweat glands, hair follicles, and sebaceous glands integrate with this system to regulate temperature, lubrication, and minor chemical signaling. Despite constant exposure to friction, sunlight, and microbial challenge, the skin maintains integrity through continuous, coordinated renewal, exemplifying resilience in a dynamic environment. The lungs' alveoli maximize surface area for gas exchange, creating a thin barrier through which oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse. Minute adjustments in blood flow and ventilation optimize efficiency, ensuring tissues receive oxygen even under variable conditions. Tiny cilia and mucus maintain cleanliness by trapping and moving particles away from sensitive tissue. Breathing is therefore a process combining mechanical action, chemical exchange, and microscopic maintenance in constant synchronization. White blood cells patrol the body with remarkable mobility, migrating along chemical gradients to sites of infection or injury. They recognize foreign molecules, engulf pathogens, and coordinate with other immune cells to mount effective responses. This decentralized system relies on local cues and chemical communication rather than centralized control, demonstrating how complex defense emerges from coordinated, autonomous units working together seamlessly. The eye's cornea and lens focus light onto the retina, creating images that the brain interprets. Tiny muscles adjust lens curvature for distance, while the retina processes brightness, color and motion before transmitting signals via the optic nerve. Damage to even microscopic components can reduce clarity or depth perception. Vision combines optical engineering with neural computation, producing the experience of a coherent visual world from layered, specialized structures. The gut microbiome is a bustling ecosystem, with trillions of microorganisms interacting with each other and the host. They assist in digesting complex fibers, producing vitamins, and influencing immune activity. Each individual's microbiome is unique, shaped by genetics, diet, and environment. The gut acts as an interface between external inputs and internal physiology, showing that human biology extends beyond human cells to a complex network of symbiotic life. Hair functions as both protection and sensory enhancer. Follicles respond to mechanical pressure, allowing detection of subtle touch or airflow. Hair growth cycles vary across regions and individuals, influenced by hormones, age, and environmental conditions. Despite their small size, these structures participate in thermoregulation, tactile awareness, and even non-verbal communication, reflecting an integration of function, aesthetics, and evolution. The skeletal system houses marrow, producing red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. This production responds to physiological demand, increasing output during infection, bleeding, or oxygen deficit. Bones themselves remodel according to stress and age, balancing strength with flexibility. The skeleton is therefore both a structural framework and a dynamic living tissue, supporting multiple systemic functions simultaneously. The diaphragm not only drives respiration, but also influences abdominal pressure and venous return. Its contractions create subtle mechanical assistance for blood movement and organ function, demonstrating how a single structure can serve multiple purposes. Breathing becomes an integrated act of circulation, ventilation, and organ support, reflecting the interdependence of muscular and vascular systems. Red blood cells traverse microcapillaries in remarkable flexibility. Their biconcave shape and membrane elasticity allow them to squeeze through vessels narrower than their diameter, ensuring continuous oxygen delivery. Hemoglobin within these cells binds oxygen in the lungs and releases it in tissues, illustrating a delicate balance of structure, chemistry, and function. The bloodstream becomes a constantly moving highway of microscopic transport units. Taste receptors exist not only on the tongue, but also in the digestive tract, influencing hormone release and appetite. These chemical sensors detect nutrients, toxins, and signaling molecules, integrating external intake with internal physiological responses. The experience of flavor extends beyond conscious taste, affecting digestion, energy balance, and overall metabolic signaling, connecting perception with systemic regulation. Muscle fibers exhibit diversity in contraction speed and endurance. Slow twitch fibers excel in sustained activity, while fast twitch fibers generate bursts of power. The combination varies by individual and muscle group, adapting to habitual demands. This specialization allows humans to perform both prolonged tasks and explosive movements, balancing efficiency with strength across daily life and survival scenarios. The heart's valves maintain unidirectional flow, opening and closing in precise sequence with each contraction. Even slight malfunctions can lead to turbulence, reduced efficiency, or systemic strain. Valve function depends on both structural integrity and coordinated timing with electrical impulses, emphasizing the integration of mechanical and electrical systems within the cardiovascular network. The skin's sensory receptors detect touch, pressure, temperature, and vibration. Mechanoreceptors, thermoreceptors, and nociceptors transmit information to the nervous system, guiding behavior and protecting the body from harm. The density and sensitivity of these receptors vary across regions, reflecting the need for both acute detection and protection. Touch is therefore an orchestrated dialogue between external stimuli and internal processing. Bones store minerals, particularly calcium and phosphorus, for both structural support and systemic metabolism. Release and deposition are regulated by hormones in response to activity, diet, and stress. Remodeling ensures resilience and adaptability, allowing the skeleton to meet changing demands over time. This dual role exemplifies how structural elements also contribute to internal chemical balance, uniting support with physiology. The liver processes alcohol, medications, and other xenobiotics through enzyme-driven reactions. These transformations often produce temporary metabolites that require further clearance. Simultaneously, the liver regulates glucose, lipid, and protein metabolism, making it a hub for both detoxification and nutrient management. Its continuous activity operates silently, but is indispensable for survival, demonstrating the efficiency of integrated organ systems. The human ear translates pressure waves into perceivable sound through an intricate chain of mechanical and neural steps. Vibrations strike the tympanic membrane, move through tiny ossicles, and reach the cochlea, where hair cells convert them into electrical signals. The auditory nerve transmits these signals to the brain, which reconstructs pitch, volume, and timbre. Even minor damage along this pathway can impair perception, highlighting the precision required for hearing. Each sound is thus the result of layered mechanics, chemistry, and neural interpretation working in perfect harmony. The gut's rhythmic contractions, known as peristalsis, propel contents efficiently along the digestive tract. Coordinated by the enteric nervous system, these waves adjust speed and intensity based on content and physiological needs. Even when conscious attention is elsewhere, digestion continues seamlessly, highlighting the body's autonomous orchestration. Peristalsis exemplifies the balance of timing, force, and responsiveness, necessary for maintaining internal equilibrium and nutrient absorption. Hair color is determined by melanin types and distribution. Eumelanin produces darker shades, while pheomelanin creates red and yellow tones. Follicles can alter pigment production over time due to genetics, age, and environmental factors, resulting in graying or color shifts. Beyond aesthetics, pigmentation contributes to protection against ultraviolet radiation, demonstrating the interplay between appearance and function within the integumentary system. Blood plasma serves as more than a transport medium. It carries nutrients, hormones, and proteins, and maintains osmotic balance. It acts as a buffer against pH changes, aids thermoregulation, and provides a conduit for signaling molecules. Continuous renewal of plasma components ensures stability and responsiveness, underscoring how liquid tissue supports both chemical communication and physical homeostasis simultaneously. The diaphragm's dome shape allows effective contraction and expansion during respiration. It separates thoracic and abdominal cavities, while transmitting mechanical forces that influence organ positioning and circulation. Breathing thus becomes a multidimensional act, affecting not only oxygen intake, but also venous return, lymph movement, and gastrointestinal function, reflecting interconnected physiological processes. White blood cells exhibit remarkable diversity in function. Neutrophils act as rapid responders, macrophages engulf debris, and lymphocytes coordinate adaptive immunity. Their migration is guided by chemical gradients, and their activity adapts to environmental and internal cues. These cells collectively maintain surveillance, repair tissue, and neutralize threats, showcasing how the immune system operates as a decentralized yet coordinated network of specialized units. The skin continually sheds dead cells, which are replaced by fresh layers from the basal region. This process maintains barrier integrity, protects against pathogens, and supports sensory functions. Microtears, abrasions, or exposure to environmental stressors trigger accelerated renewal. Through constant microscopic turnover, the skin remains resilient, balancing protection with adaptability and integrating structural, chemical, and sensory roles. Bone marrow responds to physiological stress by increasing production of blood cells. During infection, oxygen deprivation, or bleeding, stem cells accelerate differentiation into red cells, white cells, and platelets. This dynamic response illustrates the skeleton's role as both structural support and living production hub, linking mechanical integrity with systemic resilience. The liver stores glycogen as a rapid energy reserve and converts it back into glucose when needed. Simultaneously, it synthesizes bile, detoxifies harmful substances, and regulates lipid metabolism. This organ's multitasking capacity ensures balance across energy, chemical detoxification, and nutrient processing, all operating in seamless coordination to support survival and adaptability. Eyes adapt to varying focal distances via accommodation. The ciliary muscles change lens curvature, enabling sharp vision across near and far objects. Pupil size adjusts in parallel, controlling light entry, and depth of field. These micro-adjustments occur continuously, demonstrating the eye's ability to refine perception actively rather than passively, creating a stable visual experience in a fluctuating environment. Muscles rely on a balance of energy sources. Glycogen stores, fatty acids, and oxygen work in tandem to fuel contraction, with the chosen pathway adapting to intensity and duration. Coordination of energy supply and consumption ensures efficiency and prevents fatigue, illustrating the intricate biochemical choreography underlying every movement, from subtle gestures to strenuous exertion. Red blood cells hemoglobin binds oxygen with high affinity in the lungs and releases it where tissues need it most. This exchange depends on local pH, carbon dioxide concentration, and temperature, creating a finely tuned delivery system. Each cell's passage through the circulatory network integrates physical mechanics with chemical responsiveness, sustaining life on a microscopic level continuously. Taste buds regenerate approximately every 2 weeks, preserving sensitivity despite constant exposure to mechanical and chemical stress. This renewal allows the perception of subtle flavors and protection against degradation of sensory acuity. Combined with olfactory input, these taste structures support nuanced interaction with the environment and informed dietary choices, linking regeneration with function. The nervous system's plasticity allows learning and adaptation throughout life. Synaptic connections strengthen or weaken based on activity, creating enduring patterns that encode memory and skill. This ongoing remodeling demonstrates that neural networks are not fixed, but continuously shaped by experience, integrating past activity with potential for future response. Bones constantly remodel in response to mechanical forces. Osteocytes detect stress and strain, signaling osteoclasts and osteoblasts to adjust density. This process preserves strength while minimizing weight, ensuring optimal performance under changing conditions. Skeletal remodeling is therefore both reactive and anticipatory, reflecting an ongoing dialogue between structure and environment. The cornea provides the majority of the eye's refractive power. Its transparency and curvature focus light precisely on the retina, requiring constant hydration from tears and aqueous humor. Minor irregularities in shape or surface can dramatically affect vision, illustrating the fragility and importance of this seemingly simple yet vital structure. Blood vessels constrict or dilate to regulate temperature, pressure, and nutrient delivery. Smooth muscles in the vessel walls respond to neural and chemical signals, redistributing flow as needed. This dynamic modulation maintains homeostasis across tissues, highlighting the cardiovascular system's adaptability and precision in meeting constantly shifting demands. The pancreas's endocrine function is critical for metabolic homeostasis. Insulin lowers blood sugar by promoting glucose uptake, while glucagon raises it by stimulating glycogen breakdown. This balance ensures energy availability for cells and tissues throughout daily cycles, illustrating a finely tuned system operating largely beyond conscious control. Skin contains sensory receptors that detect touch, vibration, temperature, and pain. Different types of mechanoreceptors and thermoreceptors respond to specific stimuli, transmitting information to the nervous system. This layered sensory network allows the body to interact safely with the environment, coordinating reflexes, awareness, and behavioral responses through constant, nuanced feedback. The diaphragm assists in maintaining core stability during movement. By modulating intra-abdominal pressure, it supports posture and spine alignment, contributing indirectly to balance and strength. Its dual role as a respiratory and stabilizing muscle exemplifies the body's efficiency, where single structures serve multiple essential functions seamlessly. Heartbeats generate subtle vibrations that can be felt throughout the chest, transmitting mechanical energy beyond the cardiovascular system. Each contraction resonates with surrounding tissues, slightly influencing nearby nerves and muscles. This rhythmic propagation connects multiple systems, showing how cardiac activity subtly orchestrates internal sensations beyond its primary function of pumping blood. Within the digestive tract, enzymatic reactions transform complex carbohydrates into absorbable sugars. Microbes residing in the intestines assist in breaking down fibers and producing essential vitamins. These cooperative processes highlight a microscopic ecosystem functioning in tandem with human physiology, turning food into energy while influencing immunity, mood, and metabolic health. Sweat glands regulate body temperature through evaporative cooling, adjusting secretion in response to environmental heat and physical exertion. Electrolytes excreted in sweat help maintain ionic balance, linking thermoregulation with systemic homeostasis. Even subtle shifts in gland activity demonstrate a sophisticated, responsive mechanism that continuously adapts to internal and external conditions. Within bones, osteocytes sense strain and communicate with remodeling cells to reinforce stressed regions. This internal feedback loop ensures skeletal integrity while balancing weight efficiency, creating a dynamic architecture that responds to daily movement patterns. Bones are therefore active participants in adaptation, not merely inert support structures. Muscles store energy in creatine phosphate, providing immediate fuel for brief, intense activity. When oxygen supply limits aerobic metabolism, this energy reservoir sustains rapid contractions, bridging the gap until longer-term pathways take over. Such layered energy systems illustrate the intricate planning embedded within cellular metabolism. Eyes interpret depth through binocular cues, subtle motion parallax, and lens adjustments. Neural integration translates these multiple inputs into spatial awareness, allowing navigation in complex environments. Even tiny deviations in input can alter perception, showing how vision relies on continuous, precise collaboration between optics and the brain. Blood platelets respond rapidly to vascular injury, forming clots to prevent excessive bleeding. Aggregation is initiated by exposed collagen and chemical signals, creating temporary plugs reinforced by fibrin networks. This rapid, self-regulating process demonstrates the body's ability to detect and respond to minute disruptions in real time. Respiration is fine-tuned by chemoreceptors, sensing blood oxygen, carbon dioxide, and pH. Breathing rate adjusts almost imperceptibly to maintain equilibrium, linking gas exchange with acid-base homeostasis. Even unconscious shifts in respiratory rhythm reflect a complex interplay between chemical sensing, neural control, and muscular activity. Hair follicles host stem cells that guide regeneration and growth cycles. Local signaling molecules, hormones, and environmental factors determine growth rates and shedding patterns. Follicles thus exemplify a microcosm of cellular coordination, balancing renewal, sensory capacity, and protective function in every strand. Within the liver, Phase 1 and Phase 2 enzymes metabolize drugs and toxins into excretable compounds. Each reaction must be tightly regulated to prevent accumulation or harmful intermediates, showing the precision required for chemical homeostasis. This metabolic choreography preserves systemic stability while processing potentially harmful substances continuously. Capillaries provide a microscopic interface for nutrient, gas, and waste exchange. Their thin walls and vast network ensure efficient transport, while local vasodilation and constriction fine-tune delivery. Minute structural changes can drastically influence tissue perfusion, revealing the delicate balance underlying everyday circulation. Neurons rely on action potentials generated by voltage-gated ion channels. Propagation along axons allows rapid communication across vast distances, coordinating sensation, movement, and cognition. Even tiny disruptions in ion flow can impact entire neural circuits, emphasizing the precise electrochemical control underlying thought and behavior. Digestive enzymes secreted into the small intestine catalyze reactions that break fats into absorbable molecules. Bile from the gallbladder emulsifies lipids, increasing surface area for enzymatic activity. These interdependent processes transform food into essential energy while illustrating the collaborative orchestration of multiple organs. Bones act as a mineral reserve, releasing calcium during times of systemic need. Hormonal signals coordinate this release and deposition, maintaining both skeletal strength and metabolic balance. Such dual roles showcase how structural elements integrate with internal chemical demands seamlessly. Sensory nerves embedded in skin respond to vibration, pressure, temperature, and pain, transmitting information to the central nervous system. Receptors vary in density across regions, creating areas of heightened sensitivity. This layered sensory network allows adaptive interaction with the environment, supporting both protection and perception. Lungs expand and contract in response to muscular forces, optimizing airflow through the trachea, bronchi, and alveoli. Minute structural variations influence gas exchange efficiency, illustrating how tissue architecture and function are interdependent. Breathing is therefore a dynamic collaboration of anatomy, mechanics, and chemistry. White blood cells detect pathogens using surface receptors that bind foreign molecules. Upon activation, they migrate to affected sites, orchestrating localized immune responses. This decentralized surveillance demonstrates how small, autonomous units collectively maintain systemic protection. Red blood cells adjust oxygen release according to local tissue conditions, influenced by pH, temperature, and carbon dioxide levels. This fine-tuned mechanism ensures that metabolically active regions receive more oxygen precisely when needed, reflecting a continuous adaptive exchange between cellular and systemic demands. The brain's hippocampus encodes memories by strengthening specific synaptic connections. Repeated activity reinforces circuits, making recall more reliable. Memory formation demonstrates the dynamic plasticity of neural networks, illustrating how experience shapes structure and function over time. Sweat composition varies according to hydration, diet, and environmental factors. Beyond thermoregulation, these secretions help eliminate trace metabolites and maintain electrolyte balance. The process operates silently, continuously, reflecting the subtle, multi-layered coordination required for homeostasis. Muscle contractions rely on calcium ions released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. These ions bind to troponin, allowing actin and myosin filaments to interact and produce movement. The precision of this process, repeated billions of times throughout life, ensures that motion is smooth, coordinated, and efficient, from subtle gestures to intense physical activity. Within the brain, glial cells support neurons by regulating chemical environments, insulating axons, and removing waste. Far from passive, glia contribute to learning, memory, and signal transmission. This partnership between neuron and glia demonstrates that cognition is the product of multiple cell types operating in harmony rather than the work of neurons alone. Blood clotting involves a cascade of enzymatic reactions where inactive proteins are sequentially activated to form a fibrin mesh. This tightly controlled sequence prevents unnecessary clot formation while responding rapidly to injury. Such balance between readiness and restraint exemplifies the body's ability to manage potent biochemical tools safely and effectively. The small intestine maximizes absorption through villi and microvilli, dramatically increasing surface area. Nutrients pass through epithelial cells into capillaries and lacteals, ensuring efficient distribution throughout the body. Minute disruptions in this architecture, such as inflammation, can reduce absorption efficiency, showing how form and function are inseparably linked at the microscopic scale. Eyes adapt to changing light conditions through both pupil adjustment and photoreceptor sensitivity. Rods become more active in low light, while cones dominate bright environments, allowing vision across a vast range of illumination. This continual calibration highlights the eye's remarkable ability to maintain perception despite environmental shifts. Bones remodel in response to stress, hormones, and age. Osteoblasts deposit new tissue while osteoclasts remove old. material, preserving structural integrity while adapting to changing demands. This ongoing transformation ensures that skeletal support evolves alongside the body, remaining both strong and resilient over decades. Neurons transmit signals via action potentials and synaptic neurotransmission, creating intricate networks that underlie thought, movement, and perception. Even subtle shifts in synaptic efficiency can impact behavior, memory, or reflexes. The nervous system's dynamic adaptability allows learning, skill development, and response to injury in a continuous feedback loop. Sweat aids thermoregulation while removing minor toxins and metabolites. Glands respond not only to temperature, but also to emotional stimuli, creating a link between physiological regulation and psychological state. This dual function demonstrates the body's capacity to integrate multiple layers of signaling within a single mechanism. The liver detoxifies chemicals using specialized enzymes while simultaneously managing metabolism. Nutrients are processed, stored, or released as needed, illustrating the organ's multitasking role. Its continuous, silent activity sustains systemic stability, demonstrating the efficiency of overlapping metabolic pathways in maintaining homeostasis. Muscle fibers generate force through coordinated contractions of sarcomeres, converting chemical energy into mechanical work. Fiber type distribution, mitochondrial density, and capillary networks all influence endurance and strength, reflecting how cellular structure shapes macroscopic capabilities. Red blood cells circulate tirelessly, delivering oxygen and removing carbon dioxide. Their flexible membranes allow navigation through narrow capillaries, and hemoglobin's affinity for oxygen adjusts to local conditions. Each cell is a microscopic transporter, integral to sustaining life at every tissue site. Hair follicles host stem cells responsible for growth cycles and repair. Follicles respond to hormones, circadian rhythms, and environmental cues, influencing appearance, sensory feedback, and even social signaling. Each strand is therefore both a functional structure and a reflection of broader internal physiology. White blood cells patrol tissues, responding to chemical gradients and signaling molecules to locate infection or injury. Their ability to coordinate responses without centralized control demonstrates the efficiency of distributed immune surveillance, ensuring rapid, targeted defense throughout the body. The diaphragm's rhythmic movement not only drives respiration, but also assists venous return, abdominal pressure regulation, and spinal support. Its multitasking capacity illustrates how single structures can fulfill multiple critical roles simultaneously. Taste buds and gastrointestinal chemoreceptors work together to detect nutrients and toxins, influencing appetite, digestion, and hormonal signaling. This distributed sensory network ensures that intake decisions are informed by both immediate perception and systemic needs, integrating environmental cues with internal regulation. Blood vessels constrict and dilate to regulate flow, pressure, and temperature distribution. Smooth muscle layers respond to neural and chemical signals, creating a dynamic circulatory network that adapts moment by moment to internal and external conditions. The lungs' alveoli maintain a delicate thin barrier to facilitate gas exchange while preventing fluid accumulation. Tiny surfactant molecules reduce surface tension, preventing collapse and enabling smooth breathing. This balance between structure and chemistry allows efficient oxygen delivery with minimal mechanical effort. Skin's regenerative capacity continually replaces damaged cells, preserving barrier function while supporting sensory and immune roles. Even minor injuries trigger coordinated cellular responses that maintain integrity, highlighting the tissue's resilience and adaptive complexity. The spinal cord transmits motor commands and sensory input while coordinating reflexes independently of the brain. Damage to even a small segment can produce precise deficits, reflecting the cord's dual role as both conduit and autonomous processor. Tiny cilia lining the respiratory tract sweep mucus and trapped particles upward toward the throat, protecting delicate lung tissue. This constant, coordinated movement ensures that airways remain clear, preventing infection and facilitating efficient gas exchange. Even unnoticed, these microscopic motions maintain respiratory health in real time. Synapses in the brain can strengthen or weaken over minutes to hours, forming the basis of learning and memory. This plasticity allows neural networks to adapt to experience, creating lasting changes in perception, behavior, and skill acquisition. Every thought or repeated action subtly reshapes the neural landscape. Collagen fibers in connective tissue provide tensile strength to skin, tendons, and ligaments. Their orientation and density respond to stress, forming a living scaffold that supports motion while maintaining flexibility. Tissue resilience is therefore an active property, adapting continuously to both mechanical and biochemical signals. Blood constantly carries signaling molecules that influence distant organs. Hormones, cytokines, and other factors travel via plasma, coordinating growth, metabolism, immunity, and repair. This internal messaging network allows distant tissues to respond in synchrony, demonstrating that circulation functions as both transport and communication. Bone marrow produces immune cells that migrate to peripheral tissues, forming an ever-ready defense against pathogens. Stem cell niches regulate differentiation and replenishment, ensuring a balance between quantity and diversity of white blood cells. This continuous renewal maintains vigilance and adaptability across the immune system. Sensory hair cells in the inner ear detect minute vibrations, translating mechanical energy into neural signals. This ability underpins hearing and balance, with microscopic stereocilia bending to convey frequency and amplitude information. Even subtle disruptions in this system can profoundly alter perception and equilibrium. The liver synthesizes plasma proteins essential for blood clotting, transport, and immune function. Albumin maintains osmotic balance, while clotting factors enable rapid response to vascular injury. Each protein is produced in exact proportion to systemic demand, reflecting precise biochemical orchestration. During intense activity, muscles switch between aerobic and anaerobic metabolism to maintain power output. Lactic acid accumulation signals fatigue, but also prompts vascular adjustments, nutrient delivery, and cellular adaptation. This dynamic energy balancing act ensures survival under varying workloads. Eyes maintain focus through constant adjustments to lens curvature and ocular alignment. Tiny muscles and connective tissues make millisecond corrections, creating stable vision even during head movement or shifts in visual depth. These adjustments combine optics, neurology, and mechanics into a seamless perceptual system. The gastrointestinal tract hosts complex microbial communities that metabolize fibers, produce vitamins, and influence immune signaling. These microbes interact with host cells, shaping metabolism and even behavioral responses. Human physiology is thus intimately connected with microscopic ecosystems residing within. Sweat helps regulate pH balance on the skin surface, contributing to antimicrobial defense. Combined with sebaceous secretions, this chemical layer forms a dynamic barrier against environmental threats while supporting subtle microbial ecology. Each droplet reflects a microcosm of systemic interaction with the external world. White blood cells recognize pathogens through surface receptors, initiating localized defense cascades. Migration toward infection is guided by chemical gradients, creating an autonomous, decentralized immune response. Coordination emerges from local signals rather than centralized instruction, illustrating the elegance of distributed biological systems. Neurons consume energy primarily through sodium-potassium pumps that maintain ionic gradients. This constant expenditure ensures readiness for action potentials, supporting continuous signaling across vast neural networks. Even at rest, energy is dedicated to sustaining the electrochemical foundation of thought, sensation, and movement. Bone density adapts over decades in response to mechanical stress, nutrition, and hormonal signals. Osteoblasts and osteoclasts work in concert to maintain structural integrity while optimizing weight. Skeletal strength is therefore an evolving trait, dynamically aligned with lifestyle and environment. Capillaries in muscle tissues expand and constrict based on activity, oxygen demand, and metabolic signaling. This local vascular regulation allows precise matching of supply to demand, reflecting the body's capacity for micro-level optimization in circulation. Hair follicles contain receptors sensitive to mechanical pressure and airflow, providing sensory feedback. These microstructures detect subtle environmental cues, linking appearance, touch, and function in an integrated sensory network. The heart's electrical conduction system coordinates atrial and ventricular contraction with millisecond precision. Minor disruptions can lead to arrhythmias, illustrating the critical integration of electrical timing with mechanical function in sustaining circulation. Red blood cells deliver oxygen efficiently because hemoglobin's affinity adjusts to local pH, CO2 levels, and temperature. This fine-tuned responsiveness ensures that tissues with high metabolic activity receive more oxygen exactly when needed. The skin's extracellular matrix supports elasticity and resilience. Collagen and elastin fibers create a network that distributes mechanical stress, while fibroblasts maintain continuous repair. This living architecture enables skin to respond dynamically to pressure, movement, and environmental exposure. Lungs' branching bronchi and bronchioles optimize airflow, directing air efficiently toward alveolar sacs. This hierarchical structure balances resistance and surface area, illustrating how anatomical design enhances physiological function. Tiny sweat pores adjust secretion constantly, responding to heat, humidity, and even emotional states. This fine regulation protects against overheating while subtly influencing skin chemistry, creating a dynamic interface between internal physiology and the surrounding environment. Neurons in the hippocampus encode spatial and episodic memories by forming and strengthening synaptic connections. This ongoing remodeling allows experiences to reshape the brain physically, illustrating how even fleeting events leave lasting neural traces. Within bones, microscopic canals called canaliculi allow osteocytes to communicate and share nutrients. This network ensures that even cells deep inside dense tissue remain alive and functional, reflecting a sophisticated internal support system that operates silently yet continuously. Digestive enzymes and bile work in precise coordination to break down complex foods. The timing of enzyme secretion, mechanical mixing, and absorption is orchestrated to maximize efficiency, illustrating how chemical, muscular, and neural systems integrate seamlessly in the gut. Eyes' rods and cones adapt differently to light, with rods providing sensitivity in darkness and cones discerning color in bright conditions. Their interplay ensures vision across diverse environments, and even subtle disruptions can alter perception dramatically. The liver converts excess nutrients into storage forms, such as glycogen and fat, and releases them according to systemic need. This continuous, adaptive balancing act sustains energy homeostasis while detoxifying harmful compounds, reflecting the organ's role as both processor and regulator. Hair serves as both protection and sensory organ. Follicles detect minute mechanical changes, while the strands themselves shield skin from ultraviolet light, abrasion, and minor impacts. Each hair thus integrates environmental defense with tactile awareness. White blood cells patrol tissues, responding to chemical signals and migrating toward areas of inflammation. Their autonomous yet coordinated behavior ensures rapid defense against pathogens while minimizing unnecessary tissue damage. Respiration adjusts not only to oxygen demand, but also to carbon dioxide levels and pH balance. Sensors in the brainstem and carotid arteries fine-tune rate and depth, creating a continuous feedback loop that maintains internal equilibrium without conscious effort. Muscles store and consume energy through a combination of ATP, creatine phosphate, and glycogen. These energy systems interact dynamically, supplying force efficiently under varying intensity and duration, highlighting the sophisticated metabolic coordination behind every movement. Capillaries regulate exchange of gases, nutrients, and waste products, adjusting diameter according to local tissue needs. This microcirculation is crucial for cellular survival, illustrating how tiny vessels play a monumental role in overall physiology. Bone marrow responds to stress and infection by increasing production of specific blood cell types. Stem cells differentiate as needed, replenishing circulating populations and maintaining immune readiness, showing how internal production adapts to external and systemic demands. Red blood cells navigate narrow capillaries with remarkable flexibility. Their biconcave shape allows them to deform without damage, maximizing oxygen delivery and minimizing resistance, demonstrating an elegant balance between form and function at the cellular level. The skin hosts a diverse microbial ecosystem that interacts with immune cells to defend against pathogens. This community helps maintain balance, influencing both local and systemic health, and demonstrating that humans exist in continuous cooperation with microscopic organisms. The spinal cord integrates sensory input and motor commands, while enabling reflexes to occur independently of the brain. This dual functionality provides rapid responses to threats and precise coordination of movement, illustrating the efficiency of decentralized control. Eyes adjust, focus through lens curvature, changes, and tiny muscle contractions, enabling clarity across distances. Even minute adjustments occur continuously, combining optics, neural processing, and mechanical action to produce stable, accurate vision. White blood cells secrete signaling molecules that guide additional immune cells to infection sites. This chemical communication orchestrates complex responses without centralized control, illustrating how biological systems achieve coordination through local interactions. Bones act as reservoirs of minerals, releasing calcium and phosphate when required for nerve conduction, muscle contraction, and blood clotting. This dual function, structural support and metabolic regulation, demonstrates the skeleton's versatile contribution to physiology. Neurons communicate through both electrical impulses and neurotransmitters, creating complex networks capable of processing sensory information, initiating movement, and encoding memory. Each neuron's activity influences countless others, producing the emergent phenomena of thought and behavior. Lungs' alveolar sacs maintain thin membranes for gas exchange while preventing collapse with surfactant molecules. This structural and chemical balance enables efficient oxygen uptake and carbon dioxide removal, supporting life-sustaining respiration continuously. Muscle tissue adapts to repeated stress by altering fiber size, mitochondrial content, and capillary density. These micro-level changes enhance strength, endurance, and fatigue resistance, demonstrating how repeated activity sculpts functional capacity over time. The diaphragm supports respiration, core stability, and venous returns simultaneously. Its contractions influence multiple systems, highlighting the interdependence of muscular, circulatory, and skeletal functions in maintaining overall physiological balance. Red blood cells' oxygen delivery is finely tuned by local conditions, including pH, temperature, and CO2 concentration. This responsiveness ensures that active tissues receive precisely what they need when they need it, illustrating an elegant systemic adaptation. Skin's constant turnover replaces cells, preserves barrier integrity, and maintains sensory acuity. Even in the absence of injury, renewal processes operate silently, reflecting the body's commitment to continuous maintenance and resilience. As our journey through the human body comes to an end, allow yourself to sink further into rest. Feel the steady rhythms within you continuing on their own. The pulse of your heart, the gentle movement of breath, the constant renewal happening deep within your tissues. There is nothing you need to guide or control. Your body carries generations of wisdom, responding, adjusting, and sustaining life as you rest. Let thoughts loosen their grip and drift away on their own. Feel your muscles soften, your jaw release, and your breath move naturally. Remain here, supported and at ease, wrapped in the steady presence of your own living systems. If you enjoyed this moment, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, or sharing your thoughts below. Your support is deeply appreciated and helps others find their way to this space. You can also turn on notifications so you don't miss future journeys. For now, allow your body to rest, release any remaining tension, and drift gently toward rest. Good night and sleep well.